Hi, let's talk about the distributive property today. My students always like to call the distributive property the rainbows, and I'll show you why in just a second. Let me jump down here to where it says equivalent variable expressions. You should have written -3 times a quantity x plus 7. Well, here's how you do this. When the -3 is outside the parentheses, it means they want us to multiply by everything inside the parentheses. So I would encourage you to circle the number that's outside and then draw a rainbow to the first term, the x, and then draw a second rainbow to the second term, the 7. And then you just follow the rainbow. So start at -3, so you'd tell me -3 times x, and that's how I get this term. And then what's really important is you have to copy the plus or minus sign, so in this case it's a plus, and then start at the end of the rainbow again, -3 times 7, so -3 times 7. Well, order of operations, we have to multiply before we add, so -3 times x gives us -3x, and then plus, and then -3 times 7 gives us -21. Now you can leave your answer as -3x plus -21, or you can think about the definition of subtraction. Remember here it looks like they added a line and changed the sign. Well, we can undo that. And so we could also write it as -3x minus 21. It's just a matter of getting used to it. And here they're showing you lots of examples. In the algebra, if I have the A on the outside, I would draw a rainbow to the B and a rainbow to the C. So that would give me A times B plus, and then A times C. And you can see all of these examples. Or if I did it with numbers, if I grabbed the number on the outside, the 4, and I did 4 times 6 gives me 4 times 6. I copy the plus sign, and then 4, draw a rainbow to the 3, 4 times 3. That gives me that second term. Okay, so let's use a distributive property to evaluate. So I would copy the problem 2 times the quantity 9 plus 4, and then circle the 2 on the outside of the parentheses and draw a rainbow to the 9 and a rainbow to the 4. And so follow the rainbow. 2 times 9, I wrote that right here, then I copied the plus sign, and then 2 times 4, and I wrote that right here. Now use order of operations, multiply before you add. So that's 18 plus 8, and then 18 plus 8 gives us 26. Take a look at number 2. It works with subtraction as well. Okay, so copy the problem, the quantity 12 minus 3 times 3. And so circle that number on the outside of the parentheses and then draw a rainbow to each of the terms inside the parentheses. And then follow the rainbow. 3 times 12, I wrote that right here, and then copy the minus sign, and then do 3 times 3, I wrote that right here, and so 3 times 12 gave me 36, and 3 times 3 gives me 9, so 36 minus 9 would give me 27, and I box my answer. On number 3, the same idea, copy the problem, and then circle that -4, and draw a rainbow to the 4, and draw a rainbow to the 11. So I have -4 times 4, I wrote that here, then copy the minus sign, and then -4 times 11, I wrote that right here. So I multiplied first, so 4 times -4 gives me -16, I copy the minus sign, and -4 times 11 gives me -44. Now notice here, when I see those two minus signs right next to each other, they morph into a big giant plus sign. So that gives me -16 plus 44. Well, the positives have more, they're going to win the battle, and they're going to win by 28, so it's positive 28. Now you can use this to help you do mental math with harder numbers. Take a look at number 4. If I wanted to figure out 5 times 103, without having to write it out the old-fashioned way, you can think about this. You could say 5, and then in parentheses, break apart the 103 to 100 plus 3, and then use distributive property. So 5 times 100 gives me my first term, then I copy the plus, and then 5 times 3 gives me my second term. Well, 5 times 100 is 500, plus 5 times 3 is 15, so that gives me an answer of 515. Take a look at number 5. I have 4 times 3.8. Well, I can think of it as 4 times the quantity of 4 minus 0.2. And so then I use the distributive property. So 4 times 4 gives me my 16. I copy the minus sign, and then 4 times 0.2 gives me 0.8. So 16 minus 0.8 gives me 15.2. Now, I love doing distributive property with expressions and variable expressions like algebra. Take a look at letter A here in example 2. I would circle the number on the outside, the 2, and draw rainbows to the x and a rainbow to the 10, and then follow the rainbow. 2 times x I wrote right here, and then copy the plus sign, and then follow the rainbow again. 2 times 10 I wrote here. Well, I have 2 times x gives me 2x, I copy the plus, and 2 times 10 gives me 20. Now remember, I have to stop here because the 20 does not have an x, and so that's as far as I can go. Take a look at B. I have the quantity m plus 3 times negative 4. So I would circle the negative 4 and draw a rainbow to the m and a rainbow to the 3, and follow the rainbow. Negative 4 times m I wrote first, then copy the plus, and then negative 4 times 3 I wrote second, and then I simplified. Negative 4 times m is just negative 4m. I copy the plus, and negative 4 times 3 is negative 12. Now this is where the book is hoping you're going to use the definition of subtraction here. When you see plus and negative, that's the exact same thing as minus. So you could rewrite it as negative 4m minus 12. And then take a look at example C. I have negative 3 times the quantity 2y minus 6. Well, notice how I did this first. I added a line and changed the sign. And so now I'm going to circle my negative 3 and draw the rainbows. A rainbow to the 2y, and then a rainbow to the negative 6, and I follow the rainbow. So negative 3 times 2y I wrote first, then I copied the plus sign, and then negative 3 times negative 6 I wrote second. Then I simplified. Negative 3 times 2 gives me negative 6y right here. Copy the plus, and then negative 3 times negative 6 gives me 18. So I have negative 6y plus 18. And remember, I cannot go any farther because 18 does not have a y. Okay, take a look at the checkpoint. They want us to use the distributive property. So on number 7, I would circle the 4 and then draw a rainbow to the x and a rainbow to the 7. So I wrote 4 times x first, then I copied the plus and 4 times 7 second, and then I just simplified. 4x plus 28. And remember, you cannot go any farther because the 28 does not have an x after it. Okay, and then box your answer. Take a look at 8. We have negative 3 on the outside and then 4m minus 7 on the inside. So the first thing I did is I added a line and changed the sign in front of the 7. And now I would circle the negative 3 and draw a rainbow to the 4m and a rainbow to the negative 7. So negative 3 times 4m was my first rainbow. Then I copied the plus, and then negative 3 times negative 7 I wrote second. And then just simplify. Negative 3 times 4m gives me negative 12m. Copy the plus. Negative 3 times negative 7 gives me 21. And that's as far as I can go because the 21 does not have an m. Okay, and we can use this in geometry to find the area of shapes. Take a look at A, this rectangle. The length of the rectangle is 3x plus 2. And the height of the rectangle, or the width, is 5. Now, it says to use the formula length times width. You'll often hear me say base times height, okay? It means the same thing. So I do the base that I do in blue, notice how I used a blue, is the quantity 3x plus 2. The height is 5. So use the distributive property. Circle the 5 and draw a rainbow to the first term, 3x, and a rainbow to the second term, the 2. So 5 times 3x, and then copy the plus, and then 5 times 2. So that would be 15x plus 10, and that's as far as you can go because the 10 does not have an x. Take a look at B for a triangle. The area of a triangle is 1/2 times base times height. So let's plug that in. The base was the blue, the 14, and the height was the red, the quantity 12 minus 3y. So I plugged those values in, 1/2 times 14 times the quantity 12 minus 3y. And so the first thing that we should do is simplify these numbers here. 1/2 times 14, or think of it as 1/2 of 14, is 7. And then circle your 7 and draw a rainbow to the 12 and a rainbow to the 3y. So I have a 7 times 12, they copied the minus, and then 7 times 3y. And after you simplify, you would get 84 minus 21y. And that's as far as you can go because the 84 does not have a y. Okay, so now they want you to find the area of these shapes. So remember, on 9, since it's a rectangle, we're going to use the area as base times the height. So I always use a blue for the base, that's 5x plus 3, and a red for the height, that's 7. So I have 5x plus 3 times 7. So circle that 7 and draw a rainbow to the 5x and a rainbow to the 3. So 7 times 5x is my first rainbow, then I copied the plus, and 7 times 3 is the second rainbow. And then you just simplify. 7 times 5x is 35x, and 7 times 3 is 21, and we have a plus sign between them. We cannot go any farther because the 21 does not have an x. Take a look at 10. For a triangle, we know that the area is 1/2 times the base times the height. So identify the base in blue, that's 10, and the height in red, that's the quantity 9 minus 2y. So I plugged everything in, 1/2 times 10 times the quantity 9 minus 2y, and then simplify the numbers a little bit. 1/2 of 10 is 5, and now I circle the 5 and I draw a rainbow to the 9 and a rainbow to the 2y. So then follow the rainbow. 5 times 9 gives me my first term, copy the minus, and then 5 times 2y gives me my second term. So that would be 45 minus 10y. And remember, you cannot go any farther because the 45 does not have a y.